Hey all, so I wanted to make just a quick video commentary vlog thing about packaging. Now I know a lot of people complain about packaging, but I had a very specific complaint here. So I was over at CVS, right? And for those who don't know, CVS is a chain of drugstore pharmacies where they promise convenience, value, and service. Now, they did do pretty well on the service, and they did pretty well on the value and even some of the convenience. Although, that particular one I was at for the anecdote of today was a little bit pricey. They had some things that were actually lower in cost, but for their foodstuffs, they were higher in cost, which is ironic because they are right next door to a grocery store. I kid you not. They are right next door, and yet they actually charge more for their food items. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the food items don't move, and so they have to charge more in order to make up the cost, but then that doesn't make sense because that would actually discourage people from buying those items when there. You follow me? Charging more for something actually causes things to not move. If you charge less for something, you'll move more of the product and people will buy it more. Because otherwise, they'll just go right next door to the grocery store or to the any other number of stores. This is actually in a pretty dense commercial district where they have a lot of competition. So charging more actually hurts them. So I don't know why they were doing that, other than just the idea being that people will buy it because it's right there, rather than going to multiple stores. Anyway, this was an item that could not be found at some of the other local stores, other than maybe another CVS, because weirdly enough, just about half a mile to a mile away is another CVS. And then about a mile or two away from that is another CVS. So they've got their coverage there along that, along one street, mind you. This is along one street. So, anyway, getting more to the point, I had some CVS extra bucks from buying some snacks at different CVS's. I get snacks to snack on here and there that way in case I am hungry and I'm late for a meal. I can have something that's like a Cliff Bar or some jerky or something like that where it's substantive enough to kind of hold me over. Anyway, so I had some extra care bucks, some CVS bucks, and I decided to go for a little bit of a bargain buy. I have a friend who has 3 cats. So, as you can imagine, my friend has cat hair everywhere and can't really leave the house without cat hair on them. So, the lint rollers get a lot of use. Well, I, I've used a device like this before, which is just a little rubber bristle brush. You can see it there in the picture. Um, so, it has a distinct shape to really help kind of clean off car upholstery and clothes and everything. Yeah, they actually recommend it for carpets, corners, stairs, upholstery, clothing, and automobiles. So I was like, yeah, this would be perfect for my friend because they always have cat hair on them, and the advantage here is it's rinseable, and then you can um, just leave it to air dry. You know, if you can't get all the hair off. But they also say it's great for grooming, and they show a little dog. Now, they have a little try me thing. Now, why is this package empty? Because I was like, good God, this stupid thing, which is $3 by the way, it's not that expensive. They had to put it in this bubble packaging. And they have a try me window that goes over the entirety of the bristle area here. The only bristles that it covers up are the ones on the very tip. So I said to myself, first off, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just put it on with like a little cincher thing to a cardboard thing if you had to do that? Or put a little, if it had like a hole in the handle, just put a little thing around that. It's like nobody's really going to bother stealing a $3 pet groomer or clothes brush thing. It's basically a lint brush. No one's going to bother stealing that, first off, you know. But also, if you're going to bother putting it in this, I was able to remove the thing with barely any distortion to the plastic. Like, you're looking at that and you can barely see any real distortion to that, right? I was able to pull the dang thing out without having to cut open the package. And I didn't even like pinch my finger in there or anything. I just was able to work it around and get it out of there. It was so ridiculous. And I was like, why would you bother having all of this packaging? Because now I've got a piece of cardboard stuck in some plastic, and the hole is actually big enough. Hold on a second. I'm actually going to be able to get it out of here. Yeah. Not only was I able to get the brush out of there, but I was able to get the cardboard out of there without even cutting this stupid piece of plastic that served no purpose whatsoever. They molded this plastic and they put the packaging all together and then they sealed it up. And what does it do? It doesn't protect jack squat. It doesn't keep that pet hairbrush in any better shape. It doesn't prevent you from stealing it, certainly, because all I had to do was rip the thing out basically and didn't do anything because the hole in the package is so huge. I mean, don't get me wrong, my friend is going to love their pet brush and everything because I thought like it would be great for their car, and that way they could get it off their clothes and they wouldn't have to have the lint roller constantly, and they could just look real nice because they got kind of ripped on at their wedding for having cat hair all the time. So one thing I did was we had transported a dog earlier, the family dog, to go to the kennel for this family event. And I had the idea that we could just flip the towel so that the side that the dog was on was facing the seat so that any fur wouldn't really transfer from the seat to my friend's nice clothes for the purposes of an event. And I think it was the rehearsal dinner. And so it was a bit of a lifesaver. And the sister who got married was like, wow, that was a really clever idea. And my friend had to give me credit on it, but was all set to give my friends full credit on that. And it was just like, kind of silly. Anyway, so point is, like, this packaging does absolutely nothing. They could put it on, like, well, first off, this is cheap cardboard. This cardboard ripped way too easily while I was trying to get it out of there. It ripped just as soon as I touched it. It bent a little bit and it immediately tore like that much and there a little bit. Yeah, I was able to get the cardboard out of there, so I can now put this directly into the recycling, and this is the same kind of plastic you make a 2-liter bottle out of. So it's very recyclable, at least, and this cardboard can be easily recycled, but it was just like, really? And here's another thing. Like, here's kind of my point. When it comes to packaging, okay? This was a package that was put on this thing. It's a protein blend ball shaker. Okay? And I had a lot of extra care bucks, okay? So I bothered to get this thing. First off, it was less than the store brand, which is rare. And it actually had better features. For one thing, it held the same amount. It wasn't as bulky. Um, and I was able to get it for less. So I was really amazed. And it has a good little gasket on the top there. The flip top recesses in here, so you can easily, um, pour the thing. Oh, this is cute. It actually says thirsty on the inside of the cap there. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you can see it now. Yeah, so that was just kind of fun, and this was the only one in blue. I don't think they had it in any other colors, or any of them in any other colors other than black. And I was like, well, black would work, but I want something in a brighter color so that I can find it easier. Anyway, so I was just like, well, why not get this one? And it was slightly less, but it literally just sat on a shelf because it's a cup, bottle thing, whatever. And it actually had better features. But yeah, so this thing, that's all the packaging that was on it. It went around the rubber collar here, and this ring part was under the screw top. So all I had to do to remove it was take off the screw top. I didn't even have to break the ring. And then this part had tape over it, so I just kind of broke that. And that was able to come off easy. So at least the packaging was easier to get off for that. But it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Anyway, I kind of liked it because it's blue, and so it's easier to see. And the other version, the really expensive CVS version, which was like almost twice the price. I mean, maybe it was only a third more, but it didn't have a clip in the top. So like if you wanted to clip that to your backpack or something, or clip that to your belt or belt loop, couldn't do that. Or put it on a carabiner or something like that. Can't do that. Um, and yeah, it's just like, well, and like I said, it was bulkier. It actually had more bulk to it. One thing that the CVS one had that this one doesn't is it had a little sub container that was like expandable silicone rubber that you could put a full measure of protein powder in and keep that separate, and then like have water ready to go, maybe then have your protein powder, then dump it in, shake it up. But it was a lot of hassle. I actually looked at the thing, and it had a smaller lid inside that you could unscrew. I don't know if that would actually hold the powder back, and inside of the thing. But I was like, why wouldn't I just put the powder already in the thing, and then if I needed water, stop off and get water at like a fountain or something, fill it up and give it a shake? I mean, isn't that kind of the point? Anyway, yeah, so that was kind of a weird aspect, but it worked as best I could tell. It was a practical design. It just seemed like a lot more than was necessary, and I was like, I don't really need that much extra. I don't need to spend $3 or $4 extra or more in order to get some features that I don't really need. Because I'm planning on mostly using this at home, and I'm not really happy with how good a job I do at mixing protein powder in a regular glass or cup. So I was like, well, I can give this a shot because this will seal up nicely, and the blender ball in the bottom will help really shake it up, and then I don't have to bother getting out the whole blender apparatus and mixing that up and then having to clean it and having all that protein powder at the bottom. That meal supplement powder. So I was like, this is a good practical thing, and it's a pretty shade of blue. So I'll easily find it if I need to. And on top of that, I think this will fit in most cup holders. So I like that aspect of the design. The other one didn't really have that aspect to it. It was just kind of a yeah, kind of thing. Anyway, um, yeah. So packaging is kind of a weird thing in the United States. We tend to kind of over package a lot of stuff. We package stuff to the point that we don't need to package it that much. And a lot of times the packaging doesn't even do that much good. Um, I'm thinking, of course, of DVDs. DVDs are kind of ridiculous. They're the size of a CD, right? So what do we put them in? Do we put them in a regular CD case? No. Even if they're like a multiple CD package, we don't put them in a regular CD case. We put them in like these big box sets that I've measured, and it's the same height as an old VHS tape. It's not the same width across or the same thickness, but it is the same height. And I think that was the reason why they arrived at that design for a lot of DVD cases. Of course, now nobody really owns VHS tapes anymore except for weirdos like me, where I like movies that you can find easier on VHS than you can on DVD. Or sometimes people will donate VHS tapes that are really cool, and it's like, well, where am I going to find this? I'm not going to be able to find this anywhere, so I'll save this for me. Anyway, point is that there was a lot of packaging on all of that, and a lot of VHSs. Just looking back on that, you had the big clamshell cases, and then you had the cardboard sleeves. Now, cardboard sleeves always made more sense to me, even though they didn't always hold up as well. Uh, they worked, and they protected the VHS tape, which could handle a lot of damage. The clamshell case was really good for protecting them just a little bit better. Then you had the Disney ones, which were huge, made it like the size of a book. And I think that might have been the original idea, was that it would look like a book, like a fairy tale book, and you would break it out and, oh, it's this VHS tape, and we'll pop it in. But with DVDs, they put that sticker across the top, and it's next to impossible to get off. It breaks and rips on you in a million different ways. I've been able to remove one in one go on a few occasions. It's not that hard. Then they'll put a little strip across the middle too, and then they'll put little tabs made out of the hard plastic in the case itself, just to lock it shut, make sure it stays shut. And it's like, this is completely unnecessary at this point. And then sometimes you'll even get a little strip across the bottom. And it's basically tape at that point. They've taped it shut, as well as putting those tabs on, as well as putting it in poly, basically plastic wrap. And it's like, okay, can we package it just a little bit more, or can we possibly just, it gets a bit old after a certain point. There's a reason why I get a lot of used DVDs and CDs, and a lot of that is just because I don't want to have to deal with all the packaging. So, in some cases, like this stupid clothes brush, it was completely unnecessary. In the case of the protein mixer bottles, they had this thing, which was very minimal, and with the CVS brand one, all they had was a little tag that had a little plastic string on it. And that made sense. That was okay. It's like, okay, it's got the barcode on it that lets you pay for it. Way to go. Good job. This one, you've gone nice and minimal. I don't know, I could have gone for the 2 for $10, but they only had the one in blue. Otherwise, I would have gotten another one in maybe a different color, like green, or I don't know, something like that. But they didn't have that, so I didn't go for the 2 for $10 deal. But yeah, And it's like, well, why are you going with so much packaging on all of this? That's the minimum amount of packaging, and that reduces the shipping thing. Uh, would that would that brush have arrived in any better condition had it just had a little tag on it? I don't think so. I think it would have been just fine because it was a plastic brush with rubber bristles. That's all there is to it. It's not that big a deal. And it's like it's got a try me thing. It's like, oh, you want me to try you, so you want me to use the brush in the package to brush off my clothes? Is that it? You want me to put potential allergens all over this and rub this all over my body? Well, okay. You want me to bring my dog in here and groom it? Or take this out to my car while it's still in the package? No. Anyway. So the point is that they do kind of this silly thing with the packaging, and it's unnecessary. They don't have to do that. You know, most people, if they're looking through the bargain section, they're not going to go swiping it, so there's no point in putting it in that weird bubble plastic packaging. But on top of that, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't help a thing in the world. It just kind of is annoying. On top of that, I didn't even need a pair of scissors or a knife to open it and get the item out of the packaging. So that was just silly. I've had a few complaints with CVS recently. It's kind of a sad and unfortunate thing, but it's one of the reasons why I had all these CVS Extra Care bucks to spend. They give you bonus bucks basically if you buy certain items. If you buy makeup, they'll give you $5 in CVS Extra Care bucks, which basically means that they've made well over $5 of profit at that point. But on top of that, you don't have to pay tax if you buy something with CVS bucks. So the brush, I had a $3 CVS bucks thing that I got for buying some snacks, and I swear to you, I didn't have to pay a dime for that brush. So I'm not complaining that much because I got a good deal for my money. You know, $3 for a brush like that, it's an okay price. Not great, but okay. Um, anyway, so the problems that I had with the CVS thing actually bear mentioning because I got some turkey jerky, and a friend of mine warned me after that apparently they had never encountered a good turkey jerky, and I was like, that is sad, because you would think turkey jerky would be as good, if not better, in some ways from beef jerky. Like, you could really take turkey jerky in a different direction with just a slight change of marinade, and you would think the texture would be pleasant, but I could tell because I had had the same company's, the Gold Emblem CVS brand. I had had their beef jerky. I could tell it was the exact same marinade. So I told them that the turkey jerky was just god awful. And they were like, really? I'm like, yeah. The texture was okay, but the flavor was just ghastly. And I wasn't even like exaggerating. And they have a promise that if you do not love their product that's under their brand name, you get your money back. You know? So, you know, I am not one to complain like this. But I got some, I got the turkey jerky and I got some pitted dates. Now, normally when I get Gold Emblem CVS brand stuff, it is exactly what you hope for. You get a little bit more for your money, so it's a good value, unless they're running a really good sale on like on a name brand, you know, thing. So they gave me back my money on the jerky, which was nice. But they put that into CVS bucks, which is basically saying, "Oh, we'll give you that in store credit, so you can get other stuff instead." So it's like, okay, that'll work. Um, but the other thing that I got, the pitted dates, that was actually even more of a disaster. And that was one where I contacted the company and they were really understanding about that. Because that's the one you lead with, because there are a couple of things that pitted dates should be. And the first is they should be dates, which they were, thankfully. But the other thing about them is obviously they should be pitted. And I had gone through the entire package over a few days, enjoying dates. Delicious, sweet, you know, rather wholesome, simple. Uh, and I noticed that they were a little bit underripe, which is okay, but a ripe date is a wonderful thing. An underripe date is an atrocity, because a ripe date is delicious. It's rich, it's savory, it's complex, it has that subtle balance of dryness and moistness that makes it just a little bit different as a food. Um, and it's wonderful in cereal or baking. Um, anyway, so I was like, well, wow, these are really kind of underripe in flavor. But then on top of that, I was finishing the package. I just had a few, and I was putting them on some buttered toast. Which, if you have not had dates on hot buttered toast or buttered bread that's been warmed up a little bit, it's a wonderful combination. Up to a point, and that was the point where I bit into a date. I'm not even kidding you. There was a whole pit right in the middle of the date. And I was amazed. I was like, how did that happen? How is it that there was a pit in there? I bit into this thing and it actually hurt my tooth because it was a pit. If I had put that thing in a food processor to put in baking, then I would have ended up with pieces of pit. If it hadn't, messed up the blade something. Um, but yeah, so it was really weird. It's like, how do you get a pit in a pitted dates? They're supposed to be really careful with that and carefully pit all of them. Obviously, they had people kind of working the midnight hour on that one. I mean, it's a store brand, so they're going to cut a few corners and be a little bit cheaper, but they still want it to be decent quality. They still want it to be a decent product for your money. And the underripe ones you can deal with, but the pit in the middle in a package that says they're pitted, total problem. Um, so not only did I get my money back from the CVS company when I called in, but I actually got a call, and I don't know what's going to happen with it because I haven't listened to the message yet. But I got a call from the fruit grower. I'm like, okay, are they going to offer to send me a free crate of dates? Like that would be awesome. Just like several packages of dates, and just like, hey, I got a date for every night of the year. Ha cha cha. Anyway, I don't know. But that would be awesome. I would love to be able to eat dates more and put them in baking, and maybe chop them up and throw them in baking or cereal or whatever. But it's like, what what is going on? Apparently you find a problem with a date in a very easy way like that. I don't know. Obviously they were genuinely concerned that their dates were going out with pits, just because of how big of a problem that is. And I said, you could have someone choking on this, it could wreck up someone's tooth. I said it did hurt my tooth when I bit into it, but there was no harm. The tooth didn't seem damaged in any way. I just kind of bit down on it. Oh well. But it was just kind of a weird thing to have a pit. But yeah, so it's good to know that they're very responsible about this. It's good to know that they're very caring about this. It's a little weird that we have to deal with so much packaging around things, because packaging is weird. The packaging on the dates was your standard zipper pouch. The packaging on the jerky likewise was your standard zipper pouch, easy enough to open and easy enough to zip closed. That worked out nicely. That was a case of they went with the minimal packaging, and then you can recycle that. If you have a plastic bag recycling program, you can recycle that plastic very easily. So yeah, anyway, God, this vlog is going on a while. So the point is, you know, maybe look for the stuff with less packaging on it. Look for the stuff that's a little bit less in cost, and you might save yourself a little bit of frustration because a lot of times you're paying for a couple of things. One, you're paying for advertising. Two, you're paying for packaging and shipping. A lot of your cold frozen items that have to be kept just so, a lot of times you're paying for the shipping on that because you have to have a refrigerated truck and they have to keep it cold and move it in quickly once it arrives. Well, that costs extra. Um, you know, chips have gone way up in price. They don't require a lot for shipping because they're very lightweight, but I think it's just the fact that they have to be shipped like that. It's one reason why I like local distributors for chips, local manufacturers. You usually get a little bit better price, you get a better quantity, that's for certain. I've opened up bags from local snack makers, and it'll be, full to the brim. Meanwhile, you open up a bag from like a national brand, and it'll be like halfway full, mostly full of air. It's like, geez. And you have to pay like a couple of dollars for a bag of chips or cheese doodles or something. It's a little ridiculous. And it doesn't help that a lot of the packaging is non-transparent. I like to go for transparent packaging just because then I can see how much is in it. If there's a window only at the bottom, I can turn that bag over and I can see how much I'm getting in air. But yeah, so it's just kind of a weird thing. This package really had me weirded out. I was like, why would you bother with that? Anyway, so thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to hit like, you can hit subscribe if you want. If you want to, you can leave a constructive and respectful comment below. And also, if you really want to, please donate to my Patreon campaign. I am always looking for backers to support and even help guide what they want to see me produce as content. So you're perfectly welcome to add your 2 cents to that, metaphorically speaking and literally speaking. So I'm always looking for constructive and respectful feedback that'll help me improve as a content producer. So yeah, this is a one-person production, by the way, so it's not like me and a bunch of other people working on this. This is just one person doing this stuff. So it's complete amateur hour, but I would love to be able to kind of up my game just a little bit. Anyway, thanks for watching again, and take care. Bye-bye.